All he's keeping down there.
Let me just get to Las Vegas. I'm with the Gray Luis DeCubas Sr. How you doing, brother? ¿Cómo está?
Very, very good. Very happy to be here. Very happy to be with you.
I know, man. I've known your son for quite some time. I've had him on and met up with him in the Bay in Vegas and Southern California. So it's great to see the guy that actually gave him life and birth, man, into the sport.
Yeah, well,
It's a,
you know what? He's a quick learner. He's been with me in many camps.
mhm.
You know, we go to Duran, Fred Gomez, he said we goes Casa Mayor, the Casa Mayor came to this country, him and Lamar Dalbo, we took him, we
Right.
came out with he learned the game as a kid, he was always
Mhm.
talking boxing, and, that's all I'd done for 40 years. So, the guy, picked up on everything, that I was doing. He did camp with me. He learned from the trainers, from the Joe Bruce's, from the Royal, from the Gonzalez, since he was a kid, so he's been learning since he was a kid up there. So and he loves the sport.
Right.
That's what he loves to do.
You know what? I've always wondered this because, the boxing game it's a roller coaster. It's emotional. I mean, you pretty much you're investing your everything, your sweat and your blood. Sometimes you get the lotto, sometimes you don't. How do you stay in this business as long as you've been in this? How do you stay in this business and still have a positive outlook with the sport?
Well, I was very fortunate. First of all, I started boxing actually in Minnesota in 1984 with the Burnett brothers.
Hmm.
His brother Bobby's a commissioner now. And I brought his brother fought for the world title against Patricio Oliva in 1986.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's why I started boxing with. But in 1984, I moved down to Miami, and I was very lucky to met up with Chris Dundee, Angela's brother. He was really my mentor. He's the one that taught me the game. I go to his office every day at the Miami Convention Center and pick his brain,
Hmm.
and he was a very important part of my life. Later, I was also lucky to meet a gentleman who was a very, very smart man in boxing. His name was Jamil Shadeh.
Hmm.
Jamil Shadeh had Kid Gavilan, had Wilfredo Gomez, Tito Trinidad, Richard Benitez, a Cuban guy. He was a
Hmm.
Lebanese guy, older guy. And I learned a lot from him, about the game too, how to maneuver fighters, how to, position, make fights, make money with fighters.
Right.
And I was blessed. We went from two real smart guys who were very successful in business. I mean, Chris, the one that did Sunday listing against Muhammad Ali in the convention center.
Hmm.
And basically, Angelo was one of the greatest trainers ever lived because he was training most of Chris Dundee's fighters, Florentino Fernandez, Luis Miguel Rodriguez, all the guys that, Chris had in this gym, because Angelo was training. So that's how they became, successful in boxing. So I was
Right.
blessed to be part of that.
Man, that's rich. I mean, that's a lot of riches. What do you think about fighters? Now, the social media, everything, the internet's changed the way business is conducted. What do you think about this new generation of fighters that are kind of like trying to X out the old ways, like you guys, the guys, the meat of the sport, which helps out make negotiation or knows what fights to set up next, where you got fighters now trying to behave like promoters and managers, which is great. I mean, let them get their money, but what's your advice to those guys, these young guys that don't know the business yet, but they want to act like they have it all figured out?
Well, I got to tell you, I see that a lot. With a lot of these young guys, they want to be promoters, managers, and it's a lot of guys, that are great as boxers, and they were going out there and being great on TV. When they started trying to be promoters and managers, everything changed. The whole world changed.
Hmm.
And one perfect example is a fighter. I mean, he's a great Cuban fighter. He's a gold medal winner. Yorkis Gamboa. Yorkis Gamboa came up. I had him. I worked with him. Later, promoted by probably the greatest promoter ever lived, Bob Arum from the Top Rank.
Yep.
And basically, the guy wanted to be a manager, promoter, and all that stuff. And I think that took a lot away from his training and just concentrating to be the great fighter that he is.
Right.
Training and putting his mind, to doing what he does best. Because he could have been one of the world great ones. He came here. He was like HBO was promoting like it was next Mike Tyson.
Right.
But then I don't know what Ismail Salas did wrong. He had him. I brought him in. With a work visa of the United States from Thailand. He had him small. He was knocking everybody out. And
Right.
get rid of him. And I got fed up. I left. And basically, it's a perfect example of a fighter's got to be a fighter. Okay, a fighter's got to come in,
Mhm.
you know, feel comfortable with his team. Okay, he's got to train, he's got to spar, he's got to run. Okay, and he's got to get ready to go to war. You know, once you start thinking you're going to be a promoter, I'm going to start my promotion company and start doing all that stuff.
Right.
I think it takes a lot away the success. I think Ray Leonard proved it. You know, he believed in Mike Cramp now I'm coming out a little with my name, but he only listened to one guy. Okay,
Mhm.
and his success is unbelievable. You know,
Right.
Marvin Hagler was in Canellis his whole career.
Right.
You know, with Top Rank and the Canellis. You know, he only
Right.
listened to them. You know,
Yeah.
and if you think about it, Durant only really had, you know, in five decades, he only had three managers. You know,
Yeah.
he had Carlos Zeleta. You know, he had Argentina. You know,
Right.
Argentinian guy. And he had me. Those are the three guys that handled his career, the brain trust throughout his career. You know,
Right.
they did that early on, and then I did the Barkley run. You know that
Right.
we fought Victor Claudio, then we fought Ricky Stackhouse, Paul Thorne, Jeff Lannis, then we got the Barkley fight. We didn't look good against Lannis,
Mhm.
okay, and Stan Hoff was manager at the time. He got a copy of the tape. He thought he could beat Durant. You know, with Barkley, and that's when we made the fight.
Right. Yeah. You talking about Yorkis Gamboa, and you know we were talking about this before we went live, but to think about it, I mean, because we were talking, I had asked you, why do you think the Cubanos don't get that extra push, or that, you know, the other Cubanos don't support them, and they don't draw the same crowd like the way Mexican fighters and Puerto Ricans, but Gamboa was at that break of it, right? I mean, he was. HBO was backing him up. There was a lot of fight fans backing it up, and like you just mentioned, he really just dropped the ball.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I remember I think it was Macaba, that African fight. He had a great, he fought Rama Lopez, and everybody thought he beat him.
Right.
And then Gamboa got him next. With Salas, knocked him out in one round. That was it. That was over. Everybody
over.
thought
That's
this
right.
is next Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden now Salas is going, the whole team's broken up. You know, if something's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
Keep it working. Okay?
Exactly.
And that's the mentality. Like Chris Dunn used to say something to me, it makes a lot of sense. You know, once a fighter starts thinking a lot, he starts losing. Okay? A fighter's got to concentrate on one thing. You can't start thinking about this business deal, that business deal, that business deal. Find guys you can trust. There is Muhammad Ali laws now.
Mhm.
Okay? A fighter's got to get somebody to look at the contracts, you know?
Yeah.
You look at the Muhammad Ali laws, nobody's going to rip you off. There's 4 ways of sources of income. Okay?
Right.
You know what they are. The TV, foreign rights, sponsors, and gate. Okay?
There you go.
If you're a big gate seller, you know you're going to make more because you sell more tickets. Okay?
Right.
So it's just relax. Okay? Those old days, you're thinking everybody's going to rip you off, they're over. Don't listen to people in the gym. This guy's going to rip you off. With a good team, a good
Yeah.
management team, or somebody you can trust, a good advisor, and a good promoter.
Right.
Okay? You can go to the top. Okay? You don't have to start thinking, oh, if I'm not, you know, watching myself and my back, they're going to rip me. You know, just when you fight, you get out for a fight, find out what the incomes are.
Right.
And you make the decision what the guy's getting and what you're getting, and go from there.
Right.
You know, but that's and have that positive attitude all the time about training and going forward and listen to your people. You know, because this is a very short career. You got to make as much money as you can when you can.
Exactly.
You know? And you know, like this kid Tofino Lopez is a great fighter. You know,
Right.
He's a good puncher. He's a very good lightweight. You know, the father's done a tremendous job.
Great job with them. Right.
Great job. I mean, he really has. But you know, all of a sudden now, you know, he wants to leave Top Rank. You know, all that stuff. That's not
Right.
good. Mr. Aram's done a tremendous job by you. He gave you his best fighter, Lomachenko. You beat him without options. I
Right.
mean, why would you want to go and try to beat them around the bush? Then I really don't know what happened.
Right.
But that's not smart business.
Right.
You know, stay on it.
Right.
The dog's got 4 legs and only go one way. Okay.
Right.
You know, so I see this happening all the time with these young guys. You know, and I guess, you know, I'm an old school guy. I remember when I had Roberto Duran, I wanted to get him ranked. You know, there was a guy named Juan Carlos Jimenez, which I had seen fight against on a Lara car in Colombia, and I took a VCR tape to Duran to a place called Rich and Famous, and he didn't want to look at the tape. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to look at the tape. You know, he's going to fight me different. You know, old school guys don't even look at tapes. Okay. So, you know, all that social media and all that stuff, you know, all that craziness is great. Okay. But just concentrate on one thing, and that's winning and making money. Okay. And have your people around you to take care of the rest of the stuff for you. the
Right.
media, all the stuff, you know, where you just concentrate on one thing only, and that is becoming the best at what you are.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. You know, I mean, going back with Teofimo Lopez, taking on that Trilla money, which I can't remember, things like 6.1 million is what he's going to receive. And now he's going to be the headliner of a pay per view, which he hasn't done. They haven't even tested that water yet. Let me ask you if nobody buys that, which I think is going to be very difficult to sell because he's not a household name yet, right? And that's where Top Rank was actually moving them towards to get him in the households, being on ESPN, which is the most houses you can be in, more than HBO, any network, right? If he doesn't sell those tickets, is that a way an expression of the dog comes back with the tail between his legs to his owner?
Well, I don't know really, and I'm not in that situation. I just see that, we start talking about fighters wanting to be promoted.
Right.
I gave you my example on double, and now we hear this kid wants to be promoted now too. He wants to sign. What I've been hearing from people. I'm not.
Right.
I still got my flip phone here. I don't go much on the internet. I just listen to stories and this and that. But bottom line is that I had 23 world champions, and most of the great ones that I've been worked with, they understand the game. I mean, Xavier Pedroza, buy me sparring. That's all he was worried about.
Yeah.
Having sparring. I want to do 150 rounds. Fredo Gomez the same way. And they were only concentrating on get prepared for the fight.
Right.
Now there's so many different things going on with fighters' heads.
Yeah.
I really don't know. And a lot of these guys, they get conditioning guys that tell them running ain't important, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, do sprints, do this, do that. It's funny, but all the great ones I ever met, that I've been around,
Right.
I've worked with, and I've been in the gym with. Let's just start with these four, okay? Roberto Duran, Xavier Pedroza, Fredo Gomez, and I hung out with Kid Gavilan a lot.
Oh, wow.
From 1984 until he died, when I got to Miami. And he would always tell me one thing, man, sparring and running, everything else is BS.
Right.
You tell me all the time. That's what Gavin would tell me. All these guys would tell me the same thing. Like when Durant fought Barkley, I remember, it's in his book. I mean, he talks about it. I got Sullivan from Arizona. Another kid who was like 15-0 later fought for the world title, at 168 pounds, IBF world title. The name's not coming to mind a long time ago. But these guys, they'd come into camp for the Barkley fight, and I would tell them, I'll give you an extra 2,000 if you can knock this guy out. And Duran was heavy. He was out of shape.
That's great.
And I remember he would get, in the first 3 weeks of camp, he was getting the shit kicked out of him. But you know what? Once he was able to bend a little bit and get in shape, within another 2 weeks, I had to get rid of those guys.
Right.
And find new guys, okay?
Yeah.
And always have looking for spar partners. And I remember I got Carlos Montero, was undefeated at the time to work with Duran, and it was like, Durant got sharp,
Right.
He might have changed his career a little bit too, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you see the old school guys going 15 rounds and not even breathing hard. And then you look at these guys nowadays and you're like, in the 8th round, they're breathing hard. They look like fishes out of water. And I'm like, what are they doing wrong? Like, and why are they all depending on these like new technology, these, like supplements. And it's like, just do the old shit that used to work for you, man.
I'm going to tell you a little story just happened. Something just happened. Okay, we can prove to you everything sparring. And sparring is very important, but good work condition is very, very important. Footwork, okay? This kid, David Morrell, with me now, David Morrell just came from Cuba. He's probably one of the greatest amateurs ever lived. I mean, he won the tournament in Russia as the best fighter in the tournament, beat everybody.
Right.
Ukrainian, American, he beat everybody.
Right.
Okay, and all I knew he needed was condition to become a great one. So what do? I sent him to Jamel James camp in Minnesota. There's 2 reasons why I sent him to Minnesota. First, my nephew owns the Minneapolis Armory, okay, and PBC's doing 4 shows a year there. So, he's with BBC. So I wanted to make him like a Minneapolis fighter. It's my hometown. I grew up in Minneapolis. I know they're great fans there. Minnesota Twins got 17 Latins on their team.
Okay,
so it was a perfect scenario. The kid said, yes, I'll go there. So he went from a hot weather Caribbean to Minneapolis, Minnesota. He had the 3 Ds, dedication, drive, and desire to make it, to want it, okay? And Adonis Frazier, his conditioning, conditions fighters the same as Leo Palacides, a great conditioner to train Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler for his first professional fight, Joel Casamayor. He trained all the great ones, okay? So he conditions fighters just like Leo Palacides. And I saw it in Jamel James against Tony DeMarco, the body shots he was taking, And I said, man, if this guy can do the same job with Jamel James is doing with with Morrell, you know, I'm going to put him for. I'm going to try to look for a title fight right now. I'm not going to fool around with this guy. And the father, Shakar, is an old school guy. You know, he's an old school and all the tricks, you know, those old boxing tricks. So it became a perfect situation. My son, after he knocked off the second round, he knocked out a guy had gone the distance, Chad Dawson. And you know, I called. I said, yeah, this kid's the next number 10. We're ready to go. And thank God for PBC and my son and Mr. Heyman believing in what I was saying. Okay, and they offered me Lennox Allen, you know, and Lennox Allen, you know, he might be 35 years old, but he is 22-0. He lives in Brooklyn, New York. He spars with heavyweights all the time. He's always in terrific shape. He's a southpaw, in and out type of guy. Okay, and it was during the coronavirus. Okay, so it was difficult to find sparring partners. So they took away probably the half most important thing, the training camp, my sparring partner. But they got him in such great shape, you know, that he could go 15 rounds. And he won every round. I mean, if he were gone, you know, he got 15 rounds. And that was conditioning.
Right.
That was conditioning. Okay?
Exactly.
And that's very important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember James Toney one time said, I don't run, I don't do this, I just spar. Like, he didn't want to do anything else. It's like spar, that's it.
They're talking about one of the greatest fighters ever lived.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about Cuban fighters, the big criticism has always been is that they're runners. They don't like to trade. They have too much of that point system. Times are changing, and you call them something different. Can you remind me what you were calling them now, the ones?
I'll tell you something right now, you know. The one thing the Cubans have done good for their athletes, you know, the communist system, they are the communist system,
right,
is they do spend a lot of money sending their fighters international, you know, fighting. They got 300-400 fights, okay? And the best thing they did was the point system changed now. Now you got to be headhunters. You got to go out and go for the kill. So these guys are fighting without headgear. And when I saw Morrell, I mean, I saw him fighting against De La Cruz, the two-time gold medal winner. He had no headgear. Right. And I saw how aggressive he was. I thought he won the fight. He was 17 years old. And I said, this kid's going to be one of the great ones. And I was right. Okay, he's a very, very, very good fighter. But now all ththese guys, you got Jovis Gomez in Mexico, 4-0 with 4 knockouts. He's a hunter. He'll take off your head. Okay, you got Real de la Torre, 6-0 with 5 knockouts. He's beat a 15-1 Mexican and a 14-1. He's the youth champion, WC youth champion. He's a headhunter. He'll try to knock your head off. He comes forward. They don't run these guys. Son, the heavyweight, they go after you. Ioannis Tellis in Russia, he's 2-0. He's also, you can watch these guys. They go after you. They do not run. They're all aggressive guys. Same on Mesa. They're all guys that go for the kill. Okay, and they're all the type of guys that TV is looking for now. They don't. The TV wants fighters to fight, and I think the great advantage these kids got in the future is that Puerto Ricans always came great fighters, and they still have great fighters. Right. But not like the old days. They had 20 champions at one time. Every time they had 20 champions in every weight class. They had champions. Right. That's gone down a little bit. And I think the Cubans are going to take over. It's the great battles in the future is the Cubans and Mexicans. It's going to be Cubans and Mexicans. It's not going to be Puerto Ricans and Mexicans as much because there's so much more Cuban talent. And there's so many good Cuban fighters fighting. Young ones coming up. Yeah. They're all aggressive styles. You're going to see a lot of great fights. You're going to see a lot of great fights like the Casamiro and Marcus fight. You know,
that's a great fight.
Like that. Fights are going to come up because these guys not only are you need 2 guys to make a great dance, but they're going to be both hunters now. Okay, the Mexicans are hunter and the Cubans are hunter. So you're going to see a lot of Bazooka Limon type fights, you know, with Boza Edwards, those kind of type fights you're going to see now.
Man, I'm looking forward to seeing David progress and let me ask you. I mean, I don't know if you're a betting man. If you could put your guy right now with Canelo or Berlanga, what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you, when I made the decision to move quickly with them, you know, I knew I had to fight all these guys. So, I mean, I knew, hey, now my son can call me, offer me David Benavides, Caleb Plant, he can offer me Durrell, he can offer me that guy, he can offer me Canelo. Well, we're actually the WBA regular champion. We are the mandatory for Canelo. Right. Okay? I was there when Lara fought him, okay, 7 years ago. And Lara's a 54-pounder, okay? And, it was in front of 15,000 Mexicans, okay? And I know that Farhood from Showtime had us winning, okay? Right. I know Malignaggi had us winning.
I had you guys winning.
And, one had it 150, 113 for Canelo, 150, 113 for Lara. Levi Martinez had a 117, 11 for Canelo. I don't know what he was watching. I don't know I mean, he was out there. I mean, I was like, what? Okay.
Right,
And I thought he gave him a boxing list. I really did.
Yeah.
You know, he did cut him with an uppercut. Lauer maybe ran a little bit more than he should have. Okay. But he still won. He won.
Right.
He won clearly 7 rounds, maybe 8. Okay.
Right.
And after seeing that fight and watching Burrell work and his size, he's a 68 pounder, you know, 6'2", 6'3", he can punch holes to walls. You know, I don't want to sound like you know, an arrogant guy, but I think I can talk about it. You know, I had great fighters. I know when I seen a great one. I said, you know, I can
Right.
this kid to Carlos Monzon, Southpaw, comparing to all the greatness. So if a Canelo fight happens, we'll take it. Now, by the time you know, there's a guy out there, David Benavides, who's talking to everybody. He's like the boogeyman. And
Right.
I know Samson's very smart. He's got a great promoter. Okay?
Right.
And you know, he's the big boogeyman in boxing.
Right.
So he doesn't have a championship. If he wants to fight David Morrell, okay, I'll take the fight. Okay, that's what I think of my guy.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Can I say anything else? Can I say anything else? Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the boogeyman. Okay, and
Yeah.
I mean, Plant, you know, he's gonna end up fighting Canelo next if he gets by Sanders.
Right.
So I mean, you know, there's no sense even talking about him.
Right. Right.
And but this guy here, you know, he's to me, a lot of guys think he's better than Canelo. A lot of guys in boxing. A lot of boxing guys think David Benavides will beat Canelo.
Right.
Okay? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give him a title opportunity. If he gets by Morello, you can give him more power to get a Canelo fight.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
I mean, what more can I tell you guys, you know, as fans? You know, they
Right.
say, maybe this old guy is a brave guy. I'm not brave. I know what I got. Okay?
Yeah.
This guy can punch. He's got a good chin. Okay? He's got great movement. And anybody that can walk a couple blocks in his hands, okay?
Yeah.
Pretty strong dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
So I know what I got. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what I got. And you know, a lot of people, you know, told me, you know, there's a few fights, there's recent fights, you know, that I took and they thought I was crazy, and I won. So I'm not worried about that.
Right.
I'm not worried about, you know, what I think. Most of the times when I go goodbye about a guy, I'm normally right. This guy.
Oh man, I'd love to see that because I think that's the big complaint. A lot of fight fans are always saying that the fights ain't they're not being made. Guys don't want to fight no more. They're trying to protect their and there's not a huge gamble in the sport. But I mean, I think there is. You know, I think we still in that trend where you do see fighters fight, but obviously everybody's kind of hung on the like Spence and Crawford not fighting and, you know, avoiding each other. But you know what? Before I forget the train of thought, my next question was this: Al Heyman. He's the mystery guy. Let me ask you: is he a simple guy? Is he a real boxing guy, or just a solely business guy?
I only met Al 2 or 3 times. I had never talked to him on the phone. To be honest with you, that's straight out. My son and him were very, very close. We talk all the time. Okay. I mean, what can I tell you about Al Heyman? He's brought more money to boxing than anybody else, for God's sakes. I mean,
Right.
You know, there's nobody who can even come close.
Right.
I mean, and I'll tell the fighters right now. If I was a fighter, I'd want to be with Mr. Heyman because he pushes for his fighters, and he's the only guy in the history of boxing. When a guy loses, he'll bring you back. Okay, I remember in the old days with main events, Top Rank, Don King. If you lost the fight, you go to the end of the line and you wait. You fight for $10,000 your next fight. Okay, that's what you do. Mr. Heyman puts you right back in the money again. So, you know, what can I say? I mean, Mayweather's made close to $1 billion of the guy. So, I mean, what can I say about the guy? He's definitely the smartest guy in the history of boxing. I don't think nobody can even get close.
Yeah, I think it's crazy how a lot of guys want to see him like kind of fizzle in the air and just disappear. And I'm like, you know, exactly what you said. Look, Kristen Nightmare's fighting tomorrow night. Here's a guy that's lost how many times? Has never hit like past that pinnacle of making a championship, getting the belt, right? He's getting a shot at Andy Ruiz. You know, how many fighters get that shot, man?
Well, you know, one thing about him is he is kind of like the old school guys. Remember these guys, all the great ones, you know, Gavilan, Ike Williams, you know, even Ray Robinson. They had a lot of losses. Jake LaMotta.
Yes, they did.
They had a lot of losses in records. They fought the best. You know, Kid Gavilan fought everybody.
Yeah.
Ike Williams. He fought Ray Robinson twice. You know, he fought Gil Turner. He fought Carmen Basilio.
Yeah.
He fought Bobo Olsen.
I was going to mention him. Yeah,
he
Bobo
fought
Olsen.
everybody,
Yeah.
You know, and he had 16 losses. You know,
Yeah.
so Durant had 13 losses.
Yeah.
You know, but they fought the best. Okay, the best have to fight the best. The fans want it. Okay?
Yeah.
The fans want us to fight the best, and that's the reason. If you got good talent, okay, and the fight can be made, make it. If you're with PVC, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Hammond is always going to bring you back. He always does. He's proven it. He doesn't.
Right.
That's why he's so great for boxing. You know,
Yeah.
he takes care of the fighter. And those are the guys who are going and doing the combat. You know,
Absolutely.
everything else is I'm really amazed with the way he's as much money he's brought to boxing, and some of the purses these guys get. You know, just recently. I mean, I'm going back, maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It was ESPN, okay, ESPN2, and I used to get a lot of dates. But you only got paid $55,000 from ESPN to do shows. That's all you got paid.
Yeah, that's
And I
crazy.
remember making Lara and Carlos Molina. One got 15,000, the other got 12,500. Later, they both made millions with Heyman. So what can I tell you?
Yeah, complete different. Yeah,
There's nothing more to talk about.
exactly. Fighters that only fight maybe twice out of the year, is that good for fighters? Or going back old school, you would see when you're talking about Robinson. I mean, when he fought Bobo Olsen, he lost him, and then he fought him like what, like a couple of weeks after, 6-8 weeks after. Different time, right?
Marvin Hagler fought for Russell Pulse twice in Philadelphia. He lost to Benny Briscoe, and he lost to Cyclone Hart, I believe it was. Then he got paid $5,000. Back then, they fought a lot cheaper, and fights could be made. There was no TV. Now these guys are getting tons of money. They got to wait for TV revenues. When TV's got dates to pay them. They just can't fight for the gate anymore. Back then they would share dates. They'd fight everybody, and they'd fight every 3 weeks. And a lot of times they say, I don't need no sparring because I'm fighting every 3 weeks. I won't need as much sparring because your distance is there if you're fighting 3
Right.
weeks. If you're fighting 50 rounds, you come back, you fight Ike Williams, then you fight Johnny Brack in Chicago,
Right.
You're in distance, okay?
Right.
And that's what they did in the old days. It's a different game altogether. Now these guys are getting $5-6 million a fight, $2 million, $1 million. You got to do it with TV. That's why I only fight twice a year.
So it's really not even the fighters that are making this decision of like, hey, I'm going to take 6 months, 8 months off. It's really comes down to business.
Business, money.
Right.
Why should you fight 6 times a year for $100,000 when you can make $10 million in 2 fights in 1 year? I mean,
right.
Take chances, take risks. Every time you go in the ring, you can take a risk. Dead man in the cemetery.
Yeah, it reminds me of the thought of that. A lot of fight fans, we forget it's a business. We just keep thinking about the fights.
Yeah, it's a short career, and these guys got to make as much as they can in that short window.
Yeah.
A lot of guys fight. Durant fought into his 50, but there ain't too many guys like that.
No.
It's over by 35, 36.
No, definitely.
They're trying to make as much money as they can in a short window, and I can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
All the fighters that you've ever worked with, man, which one was one that made you, that always stays with you, in your memory, like the craziest moments. You were Durant. I know.
So many fighters that I've been with.
Yeah.
So many years. So many fighters.
Well, who do you have to babysit the most, though? Let me ask you, who did you babysit the most because you knew if he left your sight that fucker was going to get into something that you knew that you were not going to be able to get him out. So you had to keep a close eye on the guy.
I got to tell you, the guy comes into my mind the most was Casamiro. I took the Casamiro to Los Angeles for a reason. I came for a reason. First of all, I wanted him to teach him how to close the distance on guys. Okay. Plus, he was the kind of guy who needed to be away from Miami. If he would have stayed in Miami, I don't think he would have been where he is. Still Casamiro.
Really?
Too many distractions, and one thing about Casamiro, when you took him to camp, he trained like an animal. But you had to take him to camp, and you had to keep him there for 2.5 months. And had to take him away. So the key to Casamiro, it was going with Guzman to Los Angeles. But I have so many great memories, so many great fighters, so many close to him. Durant's my daughter's godfather. So I mean, I got friendship with all these guys. Throughout the years, all these guys' friendship, and so it's like I got great stories about a lot of fighters. I'd have to do, 3 books about all the stories.
Right.
Crazy experience.
You were there in the 80s during the whole cocaine days in Miami.
Well, the first actually, it was in the 80s. I got there in 84, and I started hanging out with this country. And I remember there was a guy in Miami. His name was Willie Martinez, Yvette Promotions. Okay, and the second fight that I did with Duran was Victor Claudio. Okay, and the second fight for Duran, he was part of the promotion. Okay, it was Willie Martinez, Yvette Promotion. Later, he was Carlos Letter's partner, I found out, after he got arrested.
Oh.
So, at that time, everybody was, in Miami was, it was the drug capital of the world.
Right.
And it was a lot of these, it was craziness in Miami, Some of the people that got involved in boxing were all crazy.
Right.
The people that thought they had a lot of money in doing something illegal, they thought they'd come into this business, and if they were billionaires, they became millionaires because they lost all their money.
I know. I'm always told from folks that go, if you're thinking about getting in boxing, think about what you're going to file under for bankruptcy, because a lot of guys end up going bankrupt in this
Wall Street
business.
Journal says the best. Two worst places to put your money in is boxing and horse racing. You know what I'm saying?
I
You
know.
got all these great guys, businessmen.
Yeah.
They're great businessmen. I mean, they're great, make tons of money in every other business. They come here, they think they're going to do the same thing.
Right.
You know, different game.
Yeah, you see all these new celebrities now. Like we've had like 50 Cents.
He took a hit too.
Yeah. Now you got Snoop Dogg getting in this and getting involved,
gonna
and
find out.
yeah. It's a different beast
They're
too.
gonna find out. That's
Yeah,
the reason guys like Aaron, guys like that, you got to admire guys like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Don King, guys like that. I mean, my God,
yeah. They stick around, and it's
stick around, and I admire those guys. Aaron, man, I'm 80 years old. Gets on a plane, goes over here, goes over there. It gives me life. I'm 64 years old. I go, man, I'm still young. Oh, I feel old until I think about Aaron and King.
yeah. That is crazy. I know. That's amazing, man. What cities do you think are the best? I know Vegas is a big fight city, but really, honestly, in your opinion, what's the best city for the atmosphere for fight fans?
Las Vegas is a great city. Los Angeles, wherever there's Mexicans, San Antonio. But I did a lot of business in Chicago with the Polish things, with
Right.
Fair, Spilka. We did Spilka and Mello in Comiskey Park. We sold 12,000 tickets, on that fight. So I had good success with Polish fighters in Chicago. I think Minneapolis, Armories, Minneapolis has always been a great fight town. We used to do a lot of the old fights there. They had a lot of the fighters. They did shows in Chicago in the old days. They used to do in Minneapolis. I know at the Armory, Ray Robinson fought there, and Armstrong fought there. A lot of the great ones went there. So Minneapolis has always been a boxing town, good fight town. And at the Armory, my nephew's doing 4 shows a year with BBC, and he's had great success. People come out to it. Now, Fox loves the arena. It's the most beautiful arena in the country. And it's holds 8,000 people. It used to go to Minneapolis Lake just to play. So
Okay,
we
yeah.
put 50 million into it. It's beautifully modeled, and it's got suites, and then after the fights, we go to his nightclub, have after parties.
Right.
So it's a beautiful situation. Everybody's happy, good time. But a lot of good boxing towns in the United States. Barkley does good fights.
Right.
Garden's always done big fights. And what can I tell you? Canelo's got 60,000 tickets sold in Dallas, so that's great for boxing.
It is great for boxing, definitely. Man, it's a pleasure. It's a
pleasure
pleasure,
to be
brother.
with you. I'm
I
very
know.
happy to
Yeah,
talk to you, and
we gotta. I gotta get you on again.
whenever you want. I'm here.
Yeah.
This guy's my brother, and he's our family. Okay, my son loves him.